Live. There we are.
Did we do the
And
countdown?
here we
There we go.
all right. What is up, interwebs? What's up, Restoration Nation? What's up, Restoration Rebels? This is the Restoration Rebel Roundtable, rather, for the 20th of March, 2024. Andy McCabe here. Joe Spears over there. How you been, Joe? What's up?
Good man, chugging along, just living that estimator dream life. What can I say?
Living the estimator dream. Yes. That's what when I graduated high school, I thought to myself, if I could do one thing for the rest of my life, it would be remote estimating in an industry I had never heard of.
You know what's really funny about that comment is like my nephew, he's like almost 16. He wants me to teach him how to be an estimator because he sees how like I get to work from home and I make good
Mm.
money and all. And he's like, he's like, why go to school? He's like, why can't I just work with you and learn the system? And I was like, because there's a lot more to it, buddy. It took years of in the field experience to get as good as I am at this. And
Well, maybe. So, I mean, we're taking a different tack over at Quick Check. We are literally taking people off the street. I mean, we're hiring for attitude and aptitude, but we're hiring people with no exact mate skill set and training them the way we want them trained. So I think it can be done. But I mean, how old's your cousin?
my
10
nephew,
nephew?
16.
Oh, okay,
I mean,
dude.
I could teach him. I could teach him. I just don't know how the long, like, I mean, you've talked about in the past. I just don't know the longevity of it because
Mm,
obviously, AI and just changes in technology. Like, I'm like, you still got to go to college or at least do something, a little bit there. But he
yeah.
wants, but I mean, it is. I think we'll always have estimators no matter what. It's just a matter of how
Well,
much we're handheld.
and I think I truly believe that there's still going to be a need for humans. And I think if you get into this industry and into this particular skill set now, you're going to be part of the teams that are running the AI, they're running the estimates,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that's what it comes to. But hey, we got ahead of ourselves. We gotta do the do. Hold on one second. Here is wait. There it is. Here we go. What's up, rebels? Okay, agreement number one. I will protect the value of my services. Offering free services only serves to erode the value of similar services industry wide. Agreement number two. I will practice incredible transparency. I will explain the claim process to my client. I will not hide pricing details or falsify reports. I will never communicate with an adjuster without also communicating with my client. Agreement number three. I do not believe in competition. The restoration companies in my market are part of my community, and I will be an active member of my community. It's our unbreakable unity that will create the change that we strive for. And agreement number four, I'm willing to walk away from any project, client, or contract that is not compatible with my values and stated mission. No relationship is worth losing money, sleep, or my humanity. There it goes. Stop screen. Stop screen. There it is. Yeah. Uh, Joe, do you know where those agreements came from?
Your big brain?
Yeah, ish. I want to say 2014, 2015, when I started the group. We didn't have any agreements, and I think the agreements took about a year to kind of come in. But at the time, I was going to a certain 12-step program that you are not supposed to talk about outside the program, and certain aspects of that kind of rubbed off on me. And then I really saw what was happening in our industry and what was happening in the group. And every single, like, I was going through the thread on a daily, and I was trying to find, okay, What's our common problems? And not just the problems. What's the root? What's at the root of our common problems as an industry, as restorers? And that is where the 4 agreements came from. Is if we can all agree to and abide by those 4 agreements, the vast majority of the problems we deal with as an industry will go away. So, anyway, there's a history lesson for you. Today, I want to talk about scoping. And why do I want to talk about scoping? Because I
This
am incredibly selfish.
thing.
As a you know, I run an estimating company. Joe works for an estimating company. We take people's information every day and spin it into gold, into Xactimate estimates. But our number one frustration, and I'm going to speak for myself, Joe can speak for himself. My number one frustration is, and the number one hurdle to writing good sheets is the lack of good information coming out of our clients. The lack of good scopes.
The
You
estimate,
want to talk about that real quick?
an estimate can only be as good as the information you provide your in-house estimator or your remote estimator. And that being said, your documentation is important because if you can't prove you done it, you might as well not bill for it. And I've
Yep.
had that issue recently where the state, a great example, standard of care says after, you should be using a HEPA vacuum to control dust and all while you're cutting drywall. So
Hmm.
I charge for HEPA vacuuming, and I had a client that's like, "Well, we don't do that. I don't know why you guys are billing for things we didn't ask you to charge for." And I'm like, "That's the standard. Like, I shouldn't be making it. You shouldn't be
He didn't
yelling at me."
follow the
I'm
standard of
yeah,
care,
like
and you wrote to the standard.
I wrote, yeah. They're like, "Well, you're making assumptions," and I'm like, "I shouldn't assume that you deviated from the standard of care. If anything, you need to let me know that ahead of time because I should just by default."
$100%.
If you work in a room, unless it's a hallway that's completely empty, you're going to have content manipulation. You don't have to tell me there's content manipulation. I can judge on the photos on how much content manipulation to
Yep.
accurately charge
Yep.
for. But, I can assume that stuff. But yeah, I've had a couple of them where they're just like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, making sense of your paperwork, my friend."
So, along with that frustration of the number one issue I have as a remote estimator is the garbage or lack of information coming out. The root of that problem, however, is the fact that a lot of people don't know, really don't know how to write a good scope. They don't know how to tell the story of the loss. And so you have a bunch of owner operators, right? That's where we all are when we came into the industry, um, who have found a way to do their own scopes and write their own estimates, right? And a lot of that is they're on site and they're memorizing everything. They're writing some stuff down. They're going back to the office and they're writing that estimate or that invoice. Um, that only works as long as you are in that seat. But guess what? And I have some notes I took here. Um, owning a business without delegation is owning a job. So if you are not taking the time to bring somebody else in and train them how to do the scope and how to do the estimating, and you are stuck doing that estimating as an owner, guess what? You didn't build a business. You don't have a business. You have a job, and your boss sucks, right? That's what I always say. I'm self-employed. My boss is a real asshole. Another note I took was the biggest hurdle to implementing remote estimating, and we just talked about this, is the ability to perform a proper takeoff or a scope. Um, and I think there's another one here I'll talk on later. As the boss, your job is to teach and mentor those around you to be better than you at what you are currently better than them at. Right? I had a client on the phone or a potential client on the phone this week where we're asked about the process. How do you develop your scopes now? How do you write your estimates now? And it came down to the fact that this particular client said they did not trust their crews to do a proper takeoff. So that's why they went out to every job and did the takeoff. And they've tried other estimating services, but they don't trust those other estimating services to write as well as them. And what I told this potential client was, well, then you have just capped yourself. You've capped your business at how many hours are in the day, because you cannot, you can't split yourself. And so you have just built yourself as the bottleneck of your company. They didn't like that. I don't think I'm going to make that sell, but maybe they might come around. But as the owner, and the leader is the teacher, not the doer. And if so, anyway, that's where we get to the point where if you've never had to transfer a scope of work or a takeoff to somebody else to write, you've never had to get good at scoping or doing a takeoff, right? So, Joe, you want to talk? What do you say? Let's talk about what that means. Let's define our terms. What is a good scope? How do you get a good scope, and what makes up a good scope? And you got the three things, right? You got photos, you got a sketch, and then you got the written scope of work. So, where do you want to start?
I mean, I think, the very first thing I mean, the hardest thing for anybody to work on is photos. So photos are your most important thing, because I don't personally, and I'm sure Andy, you're probably the same way. I don't need demo notes. A lot of times, if you have if you're doing a Matterport 3D scan and a pre and a post, I don't really need your demo notes overall. You know, photos
Or
can be.
they don't need to be as detailed or complete.
You're right. Yeah, like I tell my people all the time, like I don't need you to write down, you know, baseboard 12, 12, 12, and do the math because there's a doorway
Right.
there. Just
Because I know
write,
I got a sketch.
just write
Yep.
P. Remove baseboard and give me a P. 2 foot flood cut. Just put down 2 foot flood cut and all,
Yep.
and I can look, unless you stopped halfway through a wall, and then I need to know the measurement. And if you did the whole wall, all I need to know is 2 foot flood cut.
Yep.
you know
Yep.
and it is, I mean, you are doing actual handwritten calculations is a disservice over shorthand, because, for example, um I had a 12 by 12 room that's 144 square feet. I had some technicians go in there and they did the math and they came up to 142 square feet. And so I'm racking my brain for like 30 minutes trying to see if maybe
Where's that 2 square foot?
like, did they cut around a dresser? you know, or did they just do the math wrong? And it turned out they did the math wrong.
I did the math wrong. Yeah.
So learning the shorthand, guys, especially if you got, regardless of who's writing, especially on mitigation work, teaching your guys the shorthand of Xactimate on your demo notes makes life easier. And then it's
Yeah.
all photos. I need to know.
That's your scope notes. So let's go back to photos. What's the key? So a couple of things that I always recommend. Always think about here the philosophy of how I take photos. You need to understand that the photo you take is going to have no context to the person that's going to be looking at this photo, right? Because you're on site and you're like this close, so you're this close and you're taking all these. Well, a picture of a stud with a moisture meter in it from 2 feet away looks like every other picture of a stud with a moisture in it from 2 feet away. I have no idea where I am in that house. I don't even know which wall in what room I'm in. So first and
And most of
foremost,
the time when you upload photos, they don't upload in the same order you took
they
them
don't
in.
upload in the same order. Well, hopefully they, yeah, that's a different story altogether. So I like to take a framing picture, like set the stage before you walk all the way into the room. Take a picture. That way, at least I know every picture from this point until the next room picture is in this room, right? And then I don't go right to the focus point or the source. I go into the room, I pick a corner, I take my 3 pictures. I pick the opposite corner, I take another 3 pictures, and maybe take one up and take one down. That's 8 pictures, 9 pictures in every room before we're even looking at any particular specific thing, right? But that is how pictures should be done, in my opinion. Is it
Well,
anything
and
else you would add to that?
I would say that everybody, regardless, and I'm going to send you this is my little checklist I just sent you over so you can share it if you want. My mentality is this here. I don't give a dang one way or the other. If you are a mitigation only company, if you're a full service company or whatever, the sketch, everybody should be accurately documenting the file under the assumption that like your information is going to be used throughout the process. If you give a bad
Mhm.
sketch, if you're giving bad documentation and everything and photos, that's going to result on the that's going to affect your recon people as well and your relationships with them because,
Big time.
oh, you said they only said they took out 24 square feet of carpet and all, and then it turns out it was actually and the general contractor's like, oh, actually it was like 50. There's going to be
Mhm.
questions. So this is kind of what I've always give to people to help them kind of understand a little bit better on how to minimize kickbacks on their documentation setup.
Mhm. Mhm. I like
You know,
it.
you should always have a front picture of the home. Most carriers are going to want you to have what's called a front risk. That's
It's
the
the
front of
risk.
the home.
It's the risk
But
photo. Yep.
better than that, that lets your technicians know from the front of this house to the front of the next house, these all go to the same job, and they're not getting them confused.
Yep. Yeah, because back in the day, it used to be one long camera roll, right? And you
Yeah.
were organizing by hand. Now, let's talk about the future of pictures. The future of pictures are app-based. They're in Circle, they're DocuSketch, they're Matterport. They're gonna be taken automatically. I really think we got a window of 5 years, before, all this manual stuff that we're doing today is gonna go away, but it's still
And
important to
honest,
understand that the pictures tell the story, and you just gotta get really good at telling that story.
and if you are a 3D person, Matterport, DocuSketch, whatever, that DocuSketch scan it, Matterport, whatever. As soon as your people get in, while your one water tech is offloading plastic and getting the tool bags out, the other one scan the property as it is and all, and then you scan it at the end. Then the only photos you have to take at that point are photos that would not show up in a normal scan, such as
Mhm.
wearing PPE, extraction, um, maybe I don't know, maybe damage, in the property, stuff like that. There, you can minimize your photos overall, regardless if you're doing it manually or through an app
Yep.
by using the 3D software. But you need to have a photo. You should, as I tell everybody, stick your ass in the corner. And me personally, I
Mhm.
go, I do one, two, three, move my ass to the next corner, and I do
Yep.
three more. I want to be
Yep.
able to do all the way around the property because there might be stuff like I don't know how many jobs I've seen where the technicians don't mention anything about like a register vent. And
Mm.
if I hadn't had that photo, a good overview photo, I would have missed the fact that they had to detach a register vent, which is yeah, $7, but
Yep.
$7 times 100 jobs is $700. It's that simple of easy to make a mistake on. The
Yep.
biggest criteria thing I will say when it comes to pictures, you never want a picture of your employee's face being able to be positively identified in a photo. For
Oh,
anybody and the reason why is because regardless if that employee is still with you or not, if that person can be positively identified and you go to court, they can be subpoenaed to
ah,
testify in court. So, but if they can't positively identify them, then the manager in charge can always be the person, the testifier.
interesting.
So
I've never
if
thought of it that way.
Tyvek suit, put a mask on, side view. If you're extracting, I don't need to see the person all the way over there extracting.
Yeah.
It's literally like I used to hold the wand right here at my belly and I'd take a picture straight down and show my extraction.
Okay.
I mean, it's if you're doing just a side profile, somebody in a suit, and also be aware, guys, your photos can work against you as well because if I'm going to take a picture of my guy in Tyvek suits and then 20 photos later I see somebody with a glove on only and their exposed wrist, then an adjuster is going to be like, oh, they weren't wearing Tyvek suits the whole time. I don't want to pay for this full amount of Tyvek suiting.
You know what? I am never gonna die on the hill called PPE.
Well,
That is
okay,
not a
okay,
hill I'm willing to die on.
we'll give you another
I will
one.
give that up in a skinny minute. I'm gonna ask for something in return, but I am not going to fight tooth and nail for PPE.
Well, all of my guys that are ex carpet cleaners will understand this comment here. If you're going to charge for two extractions on a carpet, I better see the first extraction where it's all wet and everything, and then the second extraction, I better see some mountain peaks going on that carpet
Mhm,
to
mhm.
show me that yeah, this is definitely a second extraction. I can
Yeah,
tell from a photo whether or not it's a second extraction or not. And
yep.
anybody that's been doing this for more than 3 years will probably say the same exact thing.
Yep. Last bit on photos. This is the mitigation checklist from the 24-hour tech system, and you'll see here one. Does my cursor show up? No, but you can see the little camera icons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different times you're taking photos of specific stuff. That's how important pictures are. So learn to take them. And there's so much software out there there's multiple overlapping software that will take photos for you. You want to run down what's the top 10? Encircle, number
And
1,
Circle, there's Rocket Plan,
Rocket Plan,
DocuSketch,
DocuSketch,
Matterport, Company Cam, if you don't want
Company
something that
Cam.
organizes it. I mean,
Yep.
the thing is, guys, is you can't just do Dropbox, you can't just do Google Drive, and you absolutely cannot do Xactimate because the file will get way too big and never get sent over, and then you'll be sitting there wondering, why ain't I been paid? Well, the adjuster never got your file yet. Well,
An
emailed it.
Xactimate with 100 photos in it is too big. It's just cumbersome. All right, so we took care of photos. Now Sketch is we covered some of those apps now already do sketches for you. Sketches is one of the hardest things. When I was teaching water damage techs how to do this, and tell me if this rings true to you, Joe. Getting that sketch back when you had to do it by hand took the most time, and it was the most frustrating part for the water damage tech.
That's why I loved being the water tech, because I'd be like, y'all demo, I'm doing the paperwork.
I'm gonna do the paperwork. Yeah, I can see
But
that.
guys, like I mean, I still feel like I'm young, but I get that I'm going to be 40 next month. But like I grew up, I was trained 1 box, 1 foot, and like you had to draw
1
it to
box,
scale.
1 foot. What?
Yeah, on a grid sheet. If you're on a grid pad, 1 box equals 1 foot.
Okay.
You just draw it
I
to
never
scale.
used grid sheets. I was always a yellow lined paper. Yeah.
And like if it's a 2 foot below and I'm not cutting drywall, if I don't have to cut drywall, I didn't have to worry too much about windows and things like that there. But you always had to worry about doors and cabinets. But I mean, as soon as you cut drywall, the sketch that I always wrote up for mitigation had to be the exact same sketch as what we used on the reconstruction side. And this is how
Right.
we were trained. So I was
Right.
trained
Oh,
to.
yeah, let me interrupt you on that. There are still people out there that send out their reconstruction project manager estimator to re-sketch properties because the sketch coming out of the mid department is garbage. That is such a waste of. We've talked about this before. Such a waste of energy. All right, sorry. Go ahead.
Um, I mean, guys, like literally, like you got to think of it like this here. Like, if you're claiming, if you're going to submit your paperwork to an adjuster and say that you took off 200 linear feet of baseboard, then they're going to expect 200 linear feet of baseboard to be replaced on the reconstruction. And then when your recon guy comes in there and he's like, it's actually 248 linear feet.
Yeah.
Somebody's going that
Or
not only are
double.
you, well, not only that there, like, is there going to be an issue between that contractor and the adjuster arguing over it? But if you refer that contractor, he's going to come back and chew your butt out about it.
Yeah.
You
Hey, I
know,
don't know Casey. Should I let him in?
sure, why not?
Who's Casey? Casey? New guy.
Hello.
What's up, Casey?
What's up, man?
What's a good word, brother?
Oh, I ran into the link. I sat down and I was flipping through Facebook and I saw that you guys were on. So I just jumped on to, check it out, man. See what you guys are up to tonight.
Do the do. Where are you from?
Wisconsin, Milwaukee.
Okay, Milwaukee.
Yeah.
How long you been in restoration?
Like 12 years.
Okay. Oh man, you're an old guy now.
Yeah. So I got in. I was here. Let me. I got my dogs running around, man, in the house.
Yeah, no, I mean, don't worry about it. I mean, I can silence you again if you didn't want to come on. I mean,
no. So it was Hurricane Sandy. I got hooked up with a company that was a national company, and they came and got all the people locally, and I knew a guy, and he's like, hey, come and check it out, man. You might like it. And I was like, okay, I'll check it out for a couple months, help you out with some production, and never left.
Oh man, the suck got the hooks in you. You're done.
Yeah.
You're done, son.
Yeah, the industry kind of took me by surprise. So
It really does. What's your favorite part? What got you?
You know, the emergency response is really what got me. Just showing up on, you know, a lot of times on people's worst day.
You get to be the fucking hero,
Yeah,
right?
right, exactly. And you have a solution, and you can just see the people going from holy shit, what am I gonna do? This is unbelievable to, you know what? This is okay. Like, we're gonna get through this.
I love that. I love that. That's what I got addicted to. I got addicted to the, oh my God, I'm so glad you're here feeling.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I want to be fucking hero, man. I want to ride
Right.
to the rescue.
And it's kind of funny because, you know, now the company that I work for, we're kind of going through a little transition, and we're questioning in our emergency response. And I've always been a person that, you know, you should be able to send somebody that can bring some hope and tell the people like everything's going to be okay. And so
Yeah.
we're going through that right now. And you know, when the technicians show up and they don't know how to do that, it's just shit. It's a holy shit through the night. It's 9,000 emails the next morning. It's phone calls. It's when are you going to be back? I don't know what's going on. Holy shit, the guys know where to go to the bathroom. They know where to park. They know where to take breaks. They know how to go in and out of the building. They have a lockbox. They have some keys. Like, let me know when you guys are done.
That's so challenging. Yeah. And if you don't, as the technician or the lead tech or the crew lead, if you don't build that trust level immediately on day one, right, the whole job could go sideways.
Right, exactly.
Otherwise, I mean, I don't know how many other places in the world or how many other industries where a perfect stranger shows up on your doorstep in the middle of the night, but you end up handing them the keys to your house and going to a hotel.
Yeah.
Right? What's that? What kind of trust level does that take?
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
I mean, that's real. I mean, it's just that I think that says a lot about who we are as an industry in general. It's good.
Yeah, definitely. And it's interesting, and you meet a lot of interesting people, and you know, then I kind of just went through it and then ended up, you know, in production and mitigation, and went into repairs, and now I'm an estimator, project manager guy, and
you're a lifer.
You know, whatever, man. It's just it's good stuff, and I've been following you know, your stuff for a long time, and Joe, you know, Joe's stuff, and you know, whatever. It's you know, I like it. It's good stuff.
Good, man. Good.
Yeah.
Well, feel free to pipe in. We're going to cover the third. We did photos, we did sketch, and now we do scope. Let me show you an example of a scope sheet that I hand out to my clients. And you guys can tear this up if you want. But I got to pull it up first. Okay, here's that. So this is the mitigation scope sheet. This comes from the 24-hour tech. Again, this is free in the Rebel documents. Just go dig 24-hour tech and you'll find it. This is the part of the MIT checklist, MIT package. But so here's what I do. I like to put, and when I was training water damage technicians, this is the exact form I used. This gives enough guidance and enough framework, in my opinion, for a water damage technician to follow top to bottom and be able to arrive at a reasonable scope of work of what he did, right? I've seen, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but I've seen like 5-page tick sheets for mitigation that just give me fucking Tourette's. It's like, no. And, you know, a quick story. When I went to Service Master here in Bend, when I first got there, I was running their mitigation department. And we had a Wednesday meeting. And every Wednesday, this one technician would show up with a big pile of paperwork, and he'd be head down every, let me turn off this real quick. He'd be like this at the table. We were all talking about stuff, just filling out paperwork and just, and I asked him finally, he's like, what are you doing? It's like, I'm doing my tick sheets. And we had 5 tick sheets per job, like not per room. It's like 5, it was like, and they were like 8-point font, and it must have been 1,000 items. I don't know what it was. So I said, what are you doing? I'm filling out my tick sheets. And I said, what job is that? Oh, that's the job I was at last Friday. And I said, how do you remember what the hell you did last Friday. That was 5 jobs ago, bro. He's like, oh no, that's what we do. And then, right then and there, I took all their paperwork, I threw it in the trash, and I gave them the 24-hour tech. Because if we're going to put a tool in a technician's hands, it better make their life easier, not harder. That's my opinion. What's your guys' thoughts on tick sheets for mitigation?
If you ain't doing them on site, you're fired. Period.
You're fired. Amen.
Like, there is no damn reason why if you're having to do all these calculations, you are not doing them on site while your other tech is running the trash out and loading the truck up. Your lead tech is filling the paperwork out. Yeah, it sucks that you're not helping out, but guess what? That's how you get paid. And guessing is about as good as like what do they say about horseshoes?
Horseshoes and hand grenades. Close is good for horseshoes and hand grenades.
But yeah, anybody that I catch doing a tick sheet after, it's like doing a tick sheet or a moisture log after the fact. Just go home. You're done for the day. Because I got that rule too.
No paperwork. The paperwork gets filled out before you leave the freaking driveway. Period. End of story. I don't care if it's 3 a.m.
And it's bad. Like, I get people asking me all the time. I'm asking them, I should say, hey, where's your environmental logs? Where's your moisture logs at? Right? I can tell for a fact if someone just made up numbers and wrote them out. You can look at their handwriting. It's the same kind of pen, all the lines and all the dates.
Or what's worse is the technicians on site started the paperwork with one color pen, but they finished it with a different color pen, like back at the office.
I mean, I will say, like, back in my day, I used to be a little bit mischievous, and if I didn't have my readings, I had to fill some blocks in. You better believe I'd have like 3. If it was a 3-day drive, I had 3 pens, just enough of an ink color to show that it wasn't the same pen each time. But like, I can look at environmental logs at your DU readings and tell whether or not they're legit or whether or not you're guesstimating.
And what's worse is that the guys that they didn't do them, they know they didn't do them. But then the TPA or the adjuster says, hey, I need to see your dry logs. And what do? They fucking make them up.
I mean, that's why I got to the point, I don't record my moisture readings anymore.
Okay.
Because
you don't record your moisture map. No. Your moisture. Okay.
Because
keep going.
Doesn't matter. There's only two ways it can be. Ones and zeros, right? It's either above dry standard or it's dry standard, or you've reached the dry standard, correct?
I like that.
So I had my guys going around, and it would say, our paperwork would say, date above dry standard, and they would just have to write above dry standard, and they would just write, on day 1 it was 24 inches. On day 2, dry above dry standard is at 18 inches now, or 16 inches, and I would show that progression based on, and then it doesn't matter if I'm buying the cheapest whatever's on sale that month meters, and everybody has a different meter that has a different calibration level.
That's true.
Don't care. True. All I need to know is how high up and down that wall is it wet. The floor is always, it's either wet or dry, but I didn't care. Is it 27.4% or is it 16.8? No, is it dry or not? That's all that mattered.
Yeah, don't talk to me about grain depression and GPP. I like it. What's your take on that, Casey?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I've seen it all over the place. I mean, in with the mitigation departments, I mean, sometimes you get some guys that know how to do it, and sometimes you get some guys that don't. And and I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think I think there's always that big question of what was actually there and what should be there. Like what money that you should be paid for or reimbursed for, what should be there and what was actually there. Sometimes I think is, kind of where it gets a little bit, I don't know.
Fuzzy?
I think so.
Yeah. It gets subjective, which none of what we do should be subjective. It should be all quantitative, not qualitative.
And this is what I will tell everybody. On day one, you want your moisture reading to show that where everything's wet at, so you can have a good moisture map and document it. On average, if you're doing a 3 or 4 day dry out and that's it, all you need is day one readings and the final day readings. I mean, you can show you went out and monitored your equipment and all,
Yep.
but you don't really have but you just write it down. Just write your numbers down. You don't have to take a photo of your meter every time. I only take photo if it's a 3 to 4 day dry out. I'm only going to probably take wet readings on day one and take photos of my meter showing it's wet, and then everything else will be paper logged only.
Yep.
The only time I take new photos of my moisture readings showing that things are still wet is if I'm going beyond a 4 day dry out, because to help just further justify that they are actually wet. Most adjusters
I
won't
think
give
we're
you too
going to
much
get
wet.
pushed. I think we're going to get pushed to be showing those things because did I show you the new protometer?
Yeah.
The new protometer that you can't buy yet. It's Bluetooth connected. I'd show you again, but I don't want to get in trouble. They did say don't show it to anyone. So,
I mean,
it's
most
Bluetooth
companies,
connected. So it's gonna be tied into every single app, right? So it's gonna have a spot in the app. Put the moisture meter in, and it'll automatically read that reading. I think that's going to be mandated. I think we're going to be forced into showing those numbers.
well, I mean, it's most companies like I want to say Liberty Mutual, maybe Travelers. I forget which one it is. Some of them, like even if you're not a TPA, they say, well, we don't pay for anything over 3 or 4 days without photo documentation,
Yeah,
and they'll
well,
fight you.
that's not
That's
a
not a rule that
tenable.
we follow, but you know, it's that kind of a mentality that if you kind of think, okay, well, on a 3 day dry out, they're probably not going 3 4 days. They're not going to give me too much crap, but anything beyond that, let's get some actual photo documentation to help justify it. It
Mm,
does make your life easier. If you're using an app like Encircle or whatever that, or a meter that will, snap it and da da da. Yeah, why not do it? If you have the ability to do it on every job. Why not? You're charging your labor rate anyways for monitoring. But if you're old schooling it and you're just doing pen and paper, day one photos of it being wet and then meter readings after day 4. That's my rule.
yeah, I had a sample. God, I was somewhere today. Now I can't find what I was wanting to look at. Oh, craptastic.
Oh, and also if you are using those fancy meters and you're using those fancy apps that let you track everything, guys, I'm not going to be the one. If as your remote estimator, I'm probably not going to be the one to give you too much shit about it, but it's something I notice and I keep my mouth shut on every day. That shit gets time stamped. And
Yeah, it
I
does.
can tell, like, a
Can you
look at
take a
your
picture?
photos. And
Sure
if you've
does.
got 30 photos in a matter of about 45 seconds, then I'm going to say, in my head, I'm calling bullshit on your metering. Like your environmental logs, you should be letting your hygrometer acclimate for about 4 to 5 minutes to
Mm,
that DU reading on the exhaust. Don't
yeah.
stand there 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's good enough. Like let things acclimate. And the amount of people I see that literally like they can do an entire, 2-story water loss, metering in about 35 minutes. Like no,
Mm-mm.
like it takes a lot longer than that.
Takes a lot longer. Yeah, I would never want you auditing my files. I'm just gonna say that. I don't want you to ever look at my files or audit anything that I do because you
Well, you
will
got to remember,
tear me up.
like I said, I will tear somebody up in the goal of making them better, not tear them up in the goal of taking their money away from them.
Okay,
Like
that's
that's
fair.
why I've never went to the other side. Like I got offered a job at Allstate once to be an adjuster. And I was like,
Oof.
no. I was like, I was like, I can only because I already know how I could see it. Like either I'm going to be the worst person and deny like every claim possible, or everyone they're going to be like, Joe, this is a contractor only wanted $6,000. Why'd you pay the
Yeah, but
homeowner
he's owed 12.
$900? Because that's what they. Because I know he'd come back with change orders. Now I ain't got to worry about it.
That's funny. All right, let's stop. Let's talk repair scope writing. This is the takeoff. These yeah, there's a lot of people. I think I have I have an example of some of my old handwritten stuff back in the day. I'll find it. I'll go look for it. But so this is what it looks like. I think there's actually some. This is what it looks like. This is like clean, so we can talk about it. This is my setup I've had for years. I follow the same process every time I'm doing a takeoff. The room, my name goes on top, job name, and everything else, obviously. But this is 1 page per room. I don't care if you just have one thing written on the page. It gets every room gets its own sheet, right? We're not combining things. And I always start with get your rough dimensions, and then what trades am I going to need in here? Air duct cleaning or electrical rewire or something like that. What framing am I going to have to do in here? And then from there, I just go, okay, what's on the floor? What are we replacing? What's on the walls? How are we doing the walls? What's on the ceiling? And this is what it looks like when you're done with it, right? But a professional estimator that has experience, knows what they're doing, can write this scope into Xactimate in about, how long do you think that would take you, Joe? 3 minutes? Probably less than 3 minutes.
If I was forced to write my estimate based on just that piece of paper, 3 minutes.
Yeah.
But I would also lose my mind on every one of you and murder you guys because there's not a sketch for me to go off of to validate that those are correct calculations.
No, this is assuming we're just talking about scope, right? We're just talking about the scope portion of the three things we need.
I could chunk that entire list out here in about a minute and a half.
Yeah, we could probably race, right? I mean, but that is the point. You want to make it as easy to do and as quick to do and as hard to mess up as you can, because you're interpreting something for someone who's never been on site. They're never going to be on site, and they have no context like you do because you were on site. So you got to transfer that context over. This is what I want to see. Oh, this is what my notes used to look like. Where is it? Oh, this is just the first couple pages of my. This is like, wow, 2015. Look at that. But I didn't have these scope sheets. So here's my general conditions note. Everything I did was on a yellow pad. Everything I did. This I'm pretty damn proud of. That wasn't terrible. And I did that it took me under an hour to sketch this house.
Oh yeah, I used to be really fast at sketching. Like, I mean, sketching stuff like that, there's stuff like that that'd probably take an hour to do. That's not too bad there. I mean, now if we're not talking about roller wheels and actual tape measures that we're still using laser tapes back then, but
Yep.
yeah, that, if that's what, and here's the thing that I can't stand. I can't stand where, go back to that one with here. Okay, let's just say, for example, that on this job, everybody, the kitchen and the living room are what got affected.
Okay.
Unless you're putting containment up at that hallway there and separating the kitchen from the nook there, then everything else that he has on this sketch here should be included on your mitigation sketch.
Yes.
Why, Andy? Why?
Protection, cleaning,
Because
it's part of your drying chamber.
It's part of your drying chamber. And I don't know how many times I get people, they just give me the kitchen only and they don't include the rest of the house or anything.
Yeah,
and
they're severely, and that works against them because that's the only dimensions they're reporting. So the TPA is going, okay, well, that's how they're going to figure the air chamber sizing based on what you gave them. And you're going to, well, why'd you use 4 dehumidifiers? You're exactly right.
Or if you're doing a big foyer and the staircase is all opened going up the staircase and then the loft hallways up there, like, even if it's all on the main floor, good night, baby girl, I love you. Even if it's all on the main floor being affected, you need to be either going up there and putting containment up across the banister as well, or adding that, telling everybody keep your door shut, but adding that upstairs hallway for your common area drying chamber, and then calculating your needed airflow or air scrubbers for that.
But I'll tell you something right now. I will never hand sketch a job again. Encircle makes it way too easy.
I'll do it just to prove a damn point. That's about the only time
I know you would. I know you would. But I will refuse to do it As a PA, when I take a PA job, I refuse to do a PA job unless there's a Matterport done on it. I just won't, because the data is just so good. So if you have, we've just covered all the bases. If you perfect that in your business and you teach somebody else to do that, as if you're the owner operator, guess what? You've just made a business, because now it doesn't take you to do all this stuff. And I'm gonna say this one more time. As long as your business depends on you taking actions and doesn't run without you, you don't own a business, you own a job.
Well, and think of it like this here, everybody. You outsource your billing department to QuickBooks or whoever. You probably outsource your HR department to whoever.
Yeah, you got a
Why is
fractional
it
CPA.
why is it so terrifying of an idea to outsource your billing department as well? So you have a third party outside of your company reviewing your products, helping you and saying, hey, you guys could have justified 13 air movers on this job. And they only set 7.
Mhm.
You might have missed out on $2,000. Like
Yeah.
that's literally my job, is making
Yep.
sure the estimators are doing the paperwork right, and then working with my contractor saying, hey, you could have charged X, Y, and Z if you just paid attention more.
And yeah, and we're on the same page, man. That's why that's the first thing Quick Check does is audits that file, and then we do it live. We audit that file live while you're still on the job site and going, "Hey, this doesn't make sense. You didn't get a picture of that. I think you undersized your drying chamber. You need to put protection." We're coaching the MIT team as it goes, because we know that's mitigation. Everything good in restoration, and I mean everything good in restoration, starts with the MIT. And that sets the tone. Oftentimes, the mitigation lead tech is the first person and the last person this homeowner ever sees of your business. And all the data that comes out of their actions, the rest of the team, the project managers and estimators on the recon side, are depending on the data you're collecting on day one and done 1 through 4. Mitigation, I think it should be the sole focus of businesses. But it becomes this redheaded stepchild where the guys aren't paid enough, they're abused, and it's just assumed that the water techs are just dumb and they just get dirty. It's just like, we need to raise. I'm sorry, I'm on a soapbox again. We need to raise the importance of mitigation and the mitigation department to the proper level,
Well, and I
because
also go ahead.
everything downhill of that is affected by what happens here.
Well, and I also feel like there's not enough people in this industry that when they write a file up are coherent enough to stop and look at that labor summary section of Xactimate and see. I just wrote a file the other day. It was two guys for 2 days of demo, and then 2 guys for 1 day of structural cleaning, and then the rest was just monitoring, and that was it.
Okay.
By the time I got the estimate written, Xactimate's labor summary had enough hours worked into my file that I could have had 2 guys out there for 8 hours a day for 7 days straight because of the allotments Xactimate's given us. And,
Yeah, so
you know,
your actual labor spend was 36 hours or so, and Xactimate was
plus a
showing
couple
what, close
hours
to
each day
90?
for monitoring. Yeah. And
90 hours.
this is why if you're doing large loss, yeah, time and material, because you have such a big crew staff. If you're doing residential though, time and material is not the good way to go. It's
No,
Xactimate, because you don't
it's because
realize
of the
how
labor.
much your guys are busting their ass because they've had it pounding in their head. Go, 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 go. We ain't
Yep.
got time. And if you guys actually take the time and look at how many hours, you could realize, hey, I could give my guys a little bit better life if I had them slowed. Hey, instead of getting this
Yep.
done in 1 day, come back tomorrow and get it done another day. But
You
the
win
problem is
you
everyone's always like, we got a new job coming in tomorrow. We got to get this one done.
you win with the labor yield. And that's really where it comes from. All right, can we switch gears? You ready to switch gears? I
Yeah.
want to talk about Chat GPT.
What's
There's
Chat
a
GPT?
What's ChatGPT? It's artificial intelligence. No, what I'm going to show you is I want to show the back end of the Rebel Replies GPT that I created and people have been using to write letters back to adjusters. There's some people asked me. Let me share my screen.
Are they funny? Are these gonna make me laugh? Were they like
No,
respond in the way of Darth Vader?
That I haven't gone there. No, this is actually a service. So this is built into one of the services that we provide at QuickCheck. So it's it's not meant to be funny. It's meant to be effective. And it has been, because based on feedback I even received today was, somebody used this. Let me give it a lay of the land. This is what you see when you come into Chat GPT, and you got to be a paid member. You got to be, you got to pay $20 a month or whatever. This is what you see when you come into GPT, and you can ask it questions and blah, 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 blah. But up here, you're going to have to click on Explore GPTs. And then you're going to search for Rebel Replies. All right. And if that all works, you get here. And then you can ask the questions within this, what's called a GPT. And you can say this is a Vulcan logician with a hint of irony. That'll make more sense here in a second. So I'm going to go into the edit here. Here's where I can give it guidance, like feedback on things, on an individual basis. But this is where it's configured. This is where it's really set up. So I'm not going to read this whole entire thing, but this is the instructions that were given to the GPT on how it would react, how it would act. So the first paragraph says, as Rebel replies, it's talking about itself, my essence is that of a Vulcan logician, adorned with an ironic twist, tasked with safeguarding contractors and their clients from the often unjust demands of insurance carriers and adjusters. My mission is to navigate the complex terrain of invoice revisions and unjust removal requests with a wisdom that transcends mere logic. This wait till you see it. Employing a blend of stoic rationale and a subtle yet unmistakable irony. Understanding that insurance carriers and adjusters wield no sovereign power over contractors, I advocate for negotiation based on mutual concessions rather than unilateral demands. My advice against unfounded adjustments is delivered with a polite firmness infused with an ironic undertone that belies my Vulcan facade. Okay, that's just the first paragraph of what's going into this. Can you start to see how powerful this is? But wait, there's more. Down here, I can load papers. You can see here, the Rebel agreements have been loaded into the knowledge base. An article I wrote called Negotiating with Terrorists is loaded in the knowledge base. The third-party position papers from the RIA is in the knowledge base. So I've given it instructions to, in the answers that it provides, to quote from the knowledge base as often as possible. We got NIOSH regs in here. We got the O&P white papers. I think I took the S500 out because I felt like I had it in there for a little bit, but it was weird. I think the document was too big. I'm still playing with this, right? And I gave it the ability to browse the web, create images, and interpret code. I don't know why I turned that on. I don't know this, but so that's that. Shall we play with it? Well, let's wait. So this week, somebody else ruined me because I really liked ChatGPT, and I was like, oh man, this is the best thing. It's already integrated into some of my workflows. I use it for my business. I help my clients with it. But then they said, check out Perplexity. And I was like, okay, what's Perplexity? Well, what it is ChatGPT with a layer on top. So I wrote an article this week that just came out on LinkedIn or wherever else on scoping. I wrote that article using Perplexity. And it blew me away. So inside, much like this GPT here, right, where we just saw what went into that. There is not as much of that, but there is a prompt you can apply to certain. This is a grouping of a thread or a collection. So every conversation within this collection follows these prompt rules right here. So you can read it. Maybe you can't. It might be small. You are a ghostwriter for Andrew G. McCabe. Me, I'm a 25-year veteran of the restoration industry. I write articles for industry publications focused on restoration contractors, their businesses, and the property damage repair field. Anyway, that's what went into this. So every answer that this gives is based with that context, and it has the added ability to go to the web and look for information. So yesterday I asked it, I said, what are the recommended cleanup steps for meth labs? And it might ask me a follow-up question. What type of meth lab cleanup are you interested in? Right? Residential, commercial, laboratory. Let's go residential. If other, no. So, I mean, it's already smarter than ChatGPT because it's asking me questions to clarify my the answer it's about to give. Incredibly powerful stuff. Let's see here. It's coming up. Here are the recommended steps. Yeah, and it's running really slow today. But anyway, after it gives me this response, it's going to give me all the citations. So up here, there's some citations, methamphetamine affected properties. Yeah, let's just see what that environmental cleanup. Okay. Anyway, so it writes well cited and researched responses. So I'm going to end up using both of these tools. Perplexity, I'm going to do all my writing in, but I'm going to do still offer replies back to adjusters using this. You guys want to try it out? Think you go for a run?
Sure, why not? Oh, let's see here.
Camera stopped. Go ahead.
Let's see what we can. A good question to ask it.
I could go copy and paste from an email somewhere. Or here's this. Someone in the chat, give me a situation or an objection you've received from an adjuster recently. Let's see what they come up with. Casey, what's your favorite one?
I don't have any good ones recently. The last I was arguing about some roofing labor the other day. I guess that's the last one that I had, but that one doesn't work for this.
It might. Okay, what do I tell an adjuster?
Okay, here's one for you for the State Farm people out there. What do I tell an adjuster who says that PPE is the cost of doing business and that I should not be, or is cost of doing business and I should not be billing for it individually?
All right. Let's see. When facing an adjuster who claims that PPE is merely the cost of doing business, it's crucial to draw upon a blend of authoritative. It oftentimes gives a little too much preamble. Okay, I don't like how it's not writing it in the right tense, so I'm going to stop it. Oh, I can't. No, my stop button went away. All right, come on. I'm going to ask it to write an email response.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's telling me
I'm a big fan of ChatGPT. Is like I will write my email out, and then I'll say rewrite this in a professional manner, and then I'll just paste my whole email into it and see how it kicks it back to me.
Yeah. Please write this as an email from me to the adjuster.
In the most professional, and keep it. Oh, there you go.
Oh no, it already knows the voice. It already knows the voice. Okay, I'm gonna start reading here because it looks pretty small on people's screens. Oh, we've got a couple more questions here in the peanut gallery. Okay, we'll get those next here. Okay. I hope it has been suggested that PPE represents merely the cost of doing business and as such should not be included in the billing. I would like to take this opportunity to clarify our position and justify the inclusion of these charges based on industry standards and the nature of restoration work. Firstly, it is important to recognize the essence of the insurance policy is to cover all costs stemming from covered losses unless specifically excluded in writing. The Restoration Industry Association and other authoritative sources emphasizes that restorers like us have the autonomy to set our prices. Software reported prices. Oh, that's a little off topic. Okay. Insurance carriers and their partners advise against prohibiting deviations from. Oh, see, it got stuck on price list. That wasn't the root of the question. All right. That's the deal. Sometimes doesn't always get it the first try. So okay, let's just let this one go. Let's get a question from the gallery.
Good job, Joe. Way to break it.
You broke it, Joe. No, and well, it's as easy as please shorten.
I'll be right back, guys. I got to go get a drink.
Yeah, please shorten. And that forces it to shorten it and rewrite it. I'll go to two. I'll go to 2 or 3, or sometimes I'll copy a section, and I'll use sections from different responses. So let me do this. Won't pay for on-street parking in a downtown area. Okay. I have an adjuster who is unwilling to cover or pay for on-street parking for my crews during a project. I wonder what did they say was a reasoning they won't pay for on-street parking in a downtown area, besides they're just dumb, right? That's just how do you not pay for anyway? Okay, so having adjusters unwilling to pay for on a project. Please write in a short and terse email stating that these are job costs actually incurred. Because you can point it in a direction. I want it to go into the cost incurred job cost frame of mind, so I just told it that. Let's see what it comes up with. I hope this message finds you well. I'm writing to address the issue of on-street parking costs incurred by our crews during the recent restoration project. It has come to my attention that there is reluctance to cover these costs. I must emphasize that these are not optional or extraneous expenses, but essential job costs directly associated with the project's completion. On-street parking fees are a necessary expenditure to ensure our team's access to the site and the timely execution of our work. These costs are incurred solely for the purpose of project fulfillment and are as legitimate as any other direct job costs, such as materials or equipment rental. Yeah, I like that. That's really good.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, you don't have to take it all as is. You copy it, you paste it, and then you can play with it some more.
What if you about O&P or supervision?
Okay.
I'm surprised you don't have that one saved already.
Well, there's probably one over here. And I started naming, so I've got strings with clients. Here's one from Wardlaw. It was a Wardlaw objection. Here's exactly O&P. Anyway, so how I use this is I'll copy the entire email string and just paste it in. And it'll pick up who the adjuster is, who the contractor is. It'll start calling them by name. It'll pick up claim numbers and it's amazing. I'm telling you. Okay, so adjuster is trying to cut my bill by removing overhead and profit. Write a short response. Let's see how it does. Usually I write way more. I give a whole lot more context. I received your proposal to adjust our invoice for removing the overhead and profit components. I must express our concern with this approach, as O&P are essential elements that ensure the sustainability of our business and the quality of our work. Overhead covers our operational costs, while profit enables us to invest in our team, training, and equipment, ensuring we can continue to provide high-quality restoration services. These are not optional or negotiable for us. They are crucial as any direct job cost. We firmly believe our initial invoice reflects a fair and accurate assessment. You know what I don't like about this is it didn't reference the O&P white paper. So yeah, let's see what let's
All
edit
right.
the
Well, this is what now that I'm back. Oh, sorry. This is what I will always tell everybody, and Andy, you know this better than anyone. Overhead and profit, arguing overhead and profit when you have like a reconstruction file and they're like it's too small, absolutely all day long. I'll go to bat for you on that all day long and help you out on it. If you're an in-house water restoration company and you're trying to argue global overhead and profit on top of the current labor burden markup of your line items, since you did it in-house, you better have a documentation to validate that your overhead and profit needs are higher than what you've already been given. Because just saying, well, there's no overhead and profit, there is overhead and profit built in by the labor burden. Right, Andy?
No, I disagree. I disagree. I think you're convoluting. You're convoluting margin with overhead and profit. Now, if you mean margin, yes, there is a certain amount of margin built in because they're using a retail labor rate, and because the wage, the wage yield is so, it's beneficial, right? They give you plenty of budget hours, and you give you a retail rate on your labor, but that is not the same. Having a margin built in is not the same as having overhead and profit built in. I think it's a clear distinction.
Well, I think most companies who want to, play the game of overhead and profit of 10 and 10% for a total of 20, even when you don't have your global settings turned on for overhead and profit, I think they would be, if they actually ran the numbers and looked at the file and what's this giving them, they're going to realize that they are meeting their goals in that regard. Does that make sense of a comment?
Well, yeah.
If you the labor burden for like water technician labor rate is like what, like 40 or 50%, or the overhead, the markup on water restoration labor by default is like 40 or 50%.
It's close to 100. It's close to 100. So you take the wage plus the burden, and then the job overhead, and this is usually close to 100% on water tech of the first two.
So
yeah, you can do the numbers. Do the numbers right there. Okay, an adjuster is telling me that my use of air scrubbers on a Cat 1 loss is not warranted. Please explain to the adjuster why
For the S500
is warranted. Let's see. Okay. What? Now it's telling me a story? No. Where's the stop button? Okay, it's broken. Where's it?
Just start typing your new comment. It'll stop.
Yeah, I don't need a story. Please explain in an email to the adjuster.
What the industrial standard states.
And I just said that because I know it's already got the context of what I've already asked before, so I don't need to repeat what I've already asked before. Hope this message finds you well. I'm gonna tell this to stop saying that every freaking. Maybe it should. Maybe that's just being polite. I don't know. That's not how I would write an email. Hope this message finds you well. Fuck off. All right. I'm writing to address your recent query regarding the use of air scrubbers for Category 1 water loss we are currently managing. I understand there have been concerns raised about the necessity and justification. Allow me to elucidate. Ooh, that's a word. Allow me to elucidate the reasons behind our approach. Firstly, it is crucial to recognize that Cat 1 water loss as well, essentially deemed clean water scenarios, do not remain static throughout the restoration process. Very good point. The very nature of water, wick, and absorb into materials presents a dynamic environment where conditions can rapidly evolve. Use of air scrubbers is a proactive measure aimed at maintaining optimal indoor environmental quality, IEQ, and preventing the escalation of the water category, which can occur in less than 48 hours. Oh, man, I like that so far. Air scrubbers are essential to mitigating airborne contaminants that may not be immediately apparent. Man, wow. Okay, furthermore, the use of air scrubbers aligns with the guidelines set forth by reputable bodies such as the IICRC and EPA, which underscore the importance of maintaining IEQ during water loss interventions. Woof. I like it. It didn't quote any of the documents. I'd probably reiterate this, and we can tell it. Like, well, first off, please
Ask and say, can you please provide quotes from or
And,
references from this standard?
quote.
References.
Yeah,
And
reference.
let's see if we can provide URL references.
Yes.
Let's see. Now, this would work. We asked the same question to Perplexity. This would work. Oh. No, I'll include placeholders where you can insert relevant URLs. All right. I'm falling down a little bit. This is a work in progress.
Type in there. Can you please reference the IRCRC guidelines in this message?
No, because I remember I took the S500 out of the knowledge base. Maybe I need to put it back in. Maybe I should.
All right, here's one. Here's a question for you.
Hold on, we got a long one. We got a long one. Here. How do I copy? Can I copy that? Oh, I can't copy that? No. Oh, well, that's a bummer. Okay. Are you asking me, or are you asking to put this in a ChatGPT? Oh, he's not asking for ChatGPT. Okay. Contractor uses line items for most of the fire mitigation work, uses a bid item for electrical and HVAC. He also sub out dry ice blasting to a local contractor, but instead of submitting the invoice and add his OMP, chooses to use the most expensive line item to bill for that portion of the loss. Okay, first off, what the fuck? Dry ice blasting is dry ice blasting. What makes that the most expensive line item? I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean to say fuck off. Sorry. Contractor charged $28K. Line item totaled $98K. Oh, his sub charged him $28. Okay. My option. This is not usual and customary, and furthermore, 2 additional contractors' bids were, and it was probably longer. So I'm sorry, Lauren. I see you. So first off, where's the rule that says I can't get bid items and line items on the same estimate or the same job? Secondly, if I am always going to try to beat a sub with Xactimate. That's my job. My job is to be so good at Xactimate that I know I have margins when I sub out my work, right? And if he made, he charged 98 and he paid 28, he made 70K for that portion of the work. Good on you. Good on you.
I can see a little bit of a bitter pill when people see the
Well,
numbers like that there and everything.
it's a lot
But
of money. It's
here's
freaking
what
Xactimate.
there's not a, even as a general contractor, I don't have an in-house electrician. I don't have an in-house plumber. I'm always going to get a sub bid for the work, but I'm probably going to price it out in Xactimate and use that Xactimate pricing that I got to try to make sure that he comes in at where I need him to be at. So
Yeah.
if the line items total $98,000 and they're valid line items and it's a valid scope of work, and he was able to beat the sub down to 28K to do the soda blasting, then that's between him and that sub. That sub should have
Mhm.
known better than to go that low on price. But that doesn't change the fact that the MSRP value of the dry blasting work is still valid.
The value of the work is what Xactimate does, right? That we've all agreed or sort of agreed that Xactimate is essentially setting the retail value for that work. Period. And I know you right now. I've got a good friend who's a dry ice blaster, and if it's 98,000 in Xactimate, he wants 78,000. Yeah, so this guy's probably doing it dirt cheap, I would say. But I think the mixing of a sub bid for one trade and line item for another trade, I think that's a bit of a red herring. I don't think that matters.
The only time I
I
use a bid item is if I cannot get
Yeah.
Xactimate to price it out at at above what the sub's willing to do it for. If it's coming
Yeah.
in even or below, then I'm going to use the sub bid with 20% because that so I can make my profit. But as long as I'm above him, I'm usually good.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, Lauren. Well, actually, I'm not sorry. I don't know what way you were leaning. I think you were just asking for an
Well, it
opinion.
sounds like they had two other contractors. I gave them prices that said it was, it would have been cheaper. Well, I mean, at
Uh-oh.
that point, it's just a matter of arguing with it's a matter of that contractor needs to justify the line items he chose to use were the correct one and build the correct way and all.
Right. I mean, you can't cherry pick as an auditor looking backwards. You can't. Yeah.
And if it's
Exactly. I
an
mean,
appraisal,
and if I am good, right? Joe, you're good. There are very few trades that I can't beat the pants off of sub numbers on, because first and foremost, if you're doing subs and you're doing an overhead and profit on that, guess what your overhead and profit is 10 and 10, right? That's what we've accepted for some reason. You take sub cost with 10 and 10, 20% markup.
it's only 16%
Once you
margin.
back your sub costs out, you've made 16% gross margin. Guess what? Your overhead costs as a business and your profit needs as a business are more than 16%. So every time you use a sub in that scenario, you are actually doing your business a disservice and you're losing money because you're not making adequate profit to keep the doors open.
Any contractor will tell you guys.
Is 70K profit reasonable on one portion of the loss? There are 6 other dry ice line items that would have exceeded.
I'd have to see
I
the.
mean,
I'd honestly
so what
file
I'm
to
hearing is they
really
use the most expensive dry ice line items. There's only 3, right?
Well, there's dry ice blasting joist, there's studs, and then there's like dry ice blasting only by itself.
But there's dry
And
ice detail. There's detailed
hang on, let me see here.
versus
I'm actually in Xactimate right now. Dry
light.
ice.
There's detail versus light.
There's
So
dry ice blasting. There's heavy. There's extra heavy. There's exposed framing floors and exposed framing walls. And then exposed with sheathing. I mean,
that's all dry ice. Okay.
yeah. I mean,
there's more. There used to be less. There's a little bit more. So trying to we're playing money more than quarterback, right? This job is probably already done. Now we're looking at a bill here for work that was already done. I could see it's conceivable he chose the most expensive dry ice line item. Um, but even if he took a step down, what are we talking about? 25%, 10%, 15%?
Remember,
Um,
most general contractors on a reconstruction file that they're working on, they are planning on coming in at about 35 to 45% profit, or what, 35 to 45% margins on their jobs.
yeah, but you're still, even if he had if he had used the lesser line items, he's still making 60K on that sub,
Yeah, because I
and
mean,
I
I mean,
still say
just in
good
my
for him.
system alone, if you do dry ice blasting, it's 412, heavy's 481, extra heavy's 589. I mean, it's
Mhm.
not like you're going up like $8 per line item there, so it wouldn't be that much of a difference there. Now,
Yeah.
and maybe that's, I mean, I hate saying this, but maybe that sub didn't know what his actual, I mean, like a
Yeah,
lot of
I think
contractors,
the
maybe they don't
sub
know
did
their
it
own
at
cost.
cost, or the sub, took a loss on it, because dry ice is so labor intensive, and you're most you order ice, almost by the half day, right? You're gonna order a half day's worth of ice. You're not gonna order a whole day's worth of ice. You're gonna get a delivery midday because a lot of times, and it depends on the environment you're in, that ice won't last. By the end of the day, that ice has already chunked up in the barrel and is unusable. There's an art to it. There's Dry ice is really hard. You know, is it $98,000 hard? Evidently not. But is it more than $28,000 hard? I would guess yes.
Yeah, I mean, if
There's
he was at
probably
28, I would imagine my estimate would be probably at around
50.
50. Yeah. I mean, I agree 70 seems a little high, but I would imagine I'd be at around 50 if he's at 30.
Yeah, but I think this begs the question, and this particular line of questioning goes down a certain road that I wanna have a bone to pick with. Who are we if we're an adjuster or an auditor or just another third party, somebody not part of this business? Who are we to tell any other business how much profit is too much? At what point does being a smart business person turn into being greedy? I think too often we say, well, he's just being greedy. That's too much money. Who knows? What is too much money? Is it legal? Is it done by the standard? Then the
There are
amount of the dollar
avenues.
amount doesn't matter.
There's avenues to go. If you think someone is price gouging, if you think somebody is overcharging and taking advantage of people, there are many avenues to go after them on.
Take
Arguing
him to
about it on,
task.
yeah,
Yeah.
send it to appraisal. Like it's that simple and easy. Like the whole, you know, nobody says I can't, I can't make if I make I can't make 50% on a dollar. That's perfectly legal. If you think I'm trying to make $2 on a dollar, well, maybe you should send it to appraisal.
Right.
Instead of even trying to argue, just call. But the problem is most insurance companies are scared, have trained their adjusters nowadays to never go to appraisal. They want to trick the homeowner into evoking appraisal,
Yep.
so the
Yep.
homeowner has to abide by the agreement,
Yep.
and that's where
And
it gets tricky.
appraisal is the any appraisal is just another delay. So who wins an appraisal? Doesn't matter what the appraisal award is. Who wins? The carrier, because they've gotten a delay payment for another 6 months
Well, not
on
only
a
that, there,
claim
but
that they know they owe.
when you go to appraisal, you can't. Once appraisal's done, there is no more money. So if there's a question in your
Yep.
mind, if you think it might, this floor might break or this might have to be replaced, an appraiser is going to write to replace it. Worst case scenario is what they write for. And
Mm.
I don't know very many appraiser. I mean, there's not been a whole lot of files I've ever seen where it went to appraisal and it came back, you know, closer. It always comes back closer to the contractor than it does the adjuster's side of the scope,
Mhm.
or
Every
it
time.
beats it.
Every time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it is. It's one of those things that, I mean, it's like I said, we don't want to pick on somebody else for pricing in a certain way. There's avenues to go about addressing it. And the question is at the end of the day, is if he's using Xactimate, and did he choose the right line on it? Was it all exposed stud work and everything, but he just used heavy? Might be wrong. If
Well, but the thing is they don't write theirs until after it's done, and they decide yours is too much.
That's true.
That's when they write theirs.
Fact.
Like, let's meet on their day one, side by side, and
I don't do it except for a water mitigation job
fair.
or maybe a mold remediation job. I don't do any work until I have agreed upon scope of work, because
Oh, really?
I'm gonna, if it's especially on fire jobs, I'll board it up and everything, and I might start the contents pack out aspect of it, but I'm gonna write up the demo and a preliminary demo and structure clean estimate, and I'm gonna get it approved before I do any kind of work whatsoever, because it's not art. It's not depreciate. You can't depreciate demo. You can't depreciate cleaning. So they're going to have to go ahead, as soon as we get agreed upon, they're going to have to issue a check, and my homeowner's going to have my money waiting on me. Like, I'm not going to start until you got to give me some money. Like,
Yeah.
I just wrote an estimate the other day where it was like $200,000 for travelers, and the adjuster was like, "Oh my God, this is really like, it's literally an entire house demo and structure clean, and there's 67 line items in it. That's it." And the adjuster's like, "This looks amazing." And my contractor, when he came on, he was like, "I'm hoping to get about 120 on this job and stuff." And I was like, "Well, I'm about to blow you out of the water." And the adjuster's like, "Everything's in line. It's in place."
Stroke a check. Stroke a check.
I mean, unless
Who's
it's
to say how much money is too much money?
like I said, at the end of the day, guys, unless it's an emergency loss that can cause secondary damages like a water damage and all, there's no rush. Like, hey, we'll get an estimate. Let pay me. It's going to be 1%, or here's my rate to write an estimate up. I'll talk to the adjuster, and we'll agree on a scope of work. And here's the estimate. And then at the end, we'll invoice, for actual cost if we need to. On because like in my file, I estimated it for 6 weeks for 5 guys. I did the math, and I said it's going for 8 hours a day to be done in 6 weeks. It's going to take 5 guys. And when they did the work, they came back and said, "Well, we got done in 3 weeks because we actually got 10 guys out there instead." So I backed off those lineups that could be backed off based on dates and number of guys and all, and everything else was perfectly fine.
Yeah, it's legit. It's legit. All right. On that note, perfectly fine. Casey, the new guy always gets the last word. So what do you want to say to the Rebel Nation and everyone else before we get out of here?
I just want to say thanks for letting me sit in, man. This was great.
Awesome. Hey, man, thanks for being here.
It's all the real thing, man. I mean, like you said, how much is too much, and how much is the industry going to put up with, like on the contractor side. Before, like you were talking before about the techs. It's interesting that we can talk about all these specialty trades, and we can talk about skilled labor. And if the restoration technician isn't the next career in the industry, people that are going to be looked at like experts, that people go out and get the certifications, and they get the training, and they can perform the activities that could actually kill people. We're not talking about like putting paint on wrong, or we're not talking about maybe the drywall seams don't look good. We're talking about that can actually fucking kill people. And those are the people that we're trying to get in the door for $14 and $16 and $17 an hour, and expect them to stick around. And it's that's one thing that drives me nuts about the industry, that we have such a difference between the people that can do the job and the people that can't do the job. The people that were selling shoes last week, now they're out there, and we expect them to go out and rip out drywall and identify safety hazards and do hazard assessments and do all this shit. But you know what? We don't have any money in the budget to get you an extra dime.
They should be, it's telling that first off, I agree 100%. You're 100% dead on. It's telling that if you know your shit and you're a certified water tech with some certifications, and with a little bit of experience, you can write your own ticket. You can literally go to any major metropolitan area to go to a handful of restores and say, "Hey, I'm a tech. Here's my certs. I want to work." You're going to have a job. And I think we need to recognize that as an industry and make it an official trade. There should be
Yes.
a journeyman. There should be an apprenticeship. There should be a legit career path as a professional water damage mitigator.
Yes.
I think you're 100% correct. And I think it's been talked about. I've heard it. Hey, I don't know. Maybe RIA next week we'll start a conversation.
And I think it's kind of interesting because even like, and again, I don't want to take up, my, even like being deployed initially on emergency response, like we were talking about before. I mean, really, we're hazard assessment people going into some of these situations. I mean, we do almost all commercial work, and a lot of the maintenance guys aren't trained to be able to identify all this, a lot of the safety hazards. And I mean, that takes a special person to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm. And we're not even talking about crime scene, right? No thanks. All right, Casey. Hope to see you again, man.
It was awesome, man. Thank you, and I'll see you at RIA. I'll be there, and whatever. I'll say hi. Thank you for letting me.
Nice. Oh, we are gonna do. There's gonna be a Rebel event. I'm not gonna call it an event. There's gonna be a secret place where a bunch of secret people called Rebels are gonna get together on Monday night after the opening ceremonies. So yeah, if you're there, let's connect. I'll tell you where it's gonna be.
Let's do
Rebels, if you're gonna be there. I'm not going to tell you where it's going to be until you're there. So hook up. Let's do it.
Hey, can I ask one question before you jump off?
Absolutely.
Hey, Joe, I was looking through your fire example estimate today, actually, because I was looking for an F9 note that you used that I really liked.
Mm-hmm.
Can you flip me a link or show me how you posted the labor summary when you did your percentage of supervision hours? So when you click on that F9, you get the snapshot of the labor summary, so you can see the total hours.
Oh, so when you go and you put in an F9 note in,
yeah,
was that a screenshot?
Yeah, no. Dude, it was great, man. You click on there and it's got the labor summary right there.
So, all right, so I'm going to share my screen here. So all I do is, if I'm going to write a file up, let's just, I'll put in a couple, GRY, half inch, whatever, half, just so I have some hours here. All I do is, whatever it is. I'll go here and I'll hit print screen, which gives me my little
screen grab. Okay.
Which will give my little snippet tool. And then I go back to my line item that I'm going to do, or if I'm not, even if I went at the front here, under your notes here, right here where it says note,
add a photo.
You're going to change it to an image. I'm going to go to my screen share.
Oh, no. Go to paste from it. The button was right there. It was paste from. Well, there was a button that said paste from clipboard.
Oh, well, I'll put my line item right there. And then I can put my note in, and then it shows up at the end of the estimate. I mean, and I'll do that, like, say, for example.
I never thought about that.
Dude, that's solid. Genius. That's really nice.
Well, that's like, say, for example, I'm going to do CLN STD.
That's
right?
Next level shit, Joe.
And then I'm, but I'm going to charge this as a water restoration laborer here and stuff. Okay. I'll go in here and I'll put, I'll do my screen grab. And then, like that there. And then I'll put in my note here. I'm doing this honestly. Oh,
right there, paste from clipboard.
There you go. Labor change to restoration, doing the work or whatever, and everything. And that way there they can see my changes. If I'm doing,
and that shows up at the end of the estimate. It doesn't show up in line, no. It doesn't show up in line.
And then
it shows at the end.
Hang on, I'll show you.
Okay. You need to teach a class, Joe. I'm just telling you right now.
So, like, you can see here where it shows a little photo right here.
Joe, you put a class together and just fucking take my money, man.
And then down at the bottom down here, you can see where it says, there's my little note.
There it is. There it is. Okay. Damn.
And I do that all the time,
Because I
man.
write percentage too, and I always say based on total labor, and I never had a good way of showing that. And then when I was
Right.
flipping through looking
Hey,
for an F9 note that I like that you used, I clicked on it. I was like, holy shit, it's right there.
go back in there, Joe. You did something on taxes that I wasn't able to. Your markup, the
Oh,
material
my.
markup. Could you show
Okay.
that again? I tried
Yeah.
to do that this week and I got lost. I put it in taxes, but I don't think it was in taxes because I wasn't
Uh,
able to choose material only. So show us again
Where's my
where
fire
that
example?
markup was.
Here's my fire example one here. So let me load that up and give it a second here.
Dude, we're going on 2 hours today. I don't care.
All right. So yeah, especially, I mean, that's the thing is like, this is what I'll tell you guys. Like, and this is what, like I said, this is why I do it the way I do it. Because if I take a look at this labor summary on this file here, granted, I'm going to take out that 72 hours there, but so 232035 and minus 72 hours for the supervisor there. There's 22,048 hours in this job.
Man
Now,
hours. Yep.
man hours. Now, if I do it at 0.15 for 15%, I'm gonna uh, I'm gonna have 337 labor hours. Which
15%.
a lot of people I know, 23, 20, 35, they do it at 15%. That not shit. It might help if I could actually do math tonight. Multiplied by 23, 20, 35 minus. Give me a second.
Times
Hang on.
0.25
23,
or
20,
0.15
35 minus the 72 hours I already have for the supervisor because I don't want to count that. So there's
times
22,000
0.15.
multiplied by 0.15 equals 337 hours. If I divide that by 8 hours a day, that's 42 days of full 8-hour shifts that I would be applying to a job that's probably going to take, maybe 3 months to do. So if you divide 42 days worth of 8-hour shifts, and that's 3,690 out of 90, over half the time my project manager is going to be on site. No, he ain't. He absolutely
You
is not.
lost you lost me at I still don't know what the 15% of that total
A
number.
lot of people, when they calculate out there's a lot of people, Andy, that when they calculate out their job site supervision rate
Oh, they'll do supervision.
at
Yeah,
Oh, I
50,
didn't know where you
based
were
on a
going.
percentage.
I didn't know
yeah,
where you were going. Okay, so
Yeah.
15% of total hours is your uh okay. Okay.
yeah,
Your supervision hours. Okay, I arrive at it a little differently with I got a
yeah.
spreadsheet I use,
I
but it's
do it.
probably
Yeah, I do
pretty
it where
yeah, at
like, and I said,
2,000. Yeah.
like, and on this one here, granted, I've fucked around with this a little bit here because on this one here, you can see it was
Yeah.
2,098 hours. I said,
Yeah.
you know, demo and cleaning side of it is 572 hours. The recon is this much. Average crew size of 6 people on the cleaning side and average of 4
Yeah.
people out there a day on the repairs. Here's
Yeah.
how many
I'd
days it's
like
going
to
to take.
figure out a way to get that automated. Um, so you didn't have to
You,
copy and paste it and fill it out by hand, but
but I mean,
what you gonna do?
and like I said, I do 1 hour per day for each day for the project manager to check in on the job, and then I'll add a 20% overage onto it to account for meeting subcontractors, taking the client shopping, other time spent on the project but not on site. And I
Yep.
feel like on a job that's expected, that's got 12 weeks of work being done on it, I think 72 hours is a fair amount of hours for a project manager to be applied to this file.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
that's about
know,
right. All right, show me material markup.
Now, if I'm going to do material markup, I'm going to go to parameters and I'm going to go to my sales tax. And I already have it in here. I didn't realize that. That's why. All right. So delete that real quick. So by default, like my
Why
price
was
list,
I?
my
Wait. Okay, keep going.
my default is going to look, my default in Indiana is going to look like this here: material, manufacturer, home sales tax, storage tax. I'm going to add. I'm going to say material markup. How much of a material markup do you want me to add, Andy? 20%, 30,
15%.
15%.
Well, I mean, yeah, because we
That's
don't
fine.
wanna I'm not gonna tell anyone what the right number is. So 15 is
Okay.
not the right number. So we're gonna use it.
All right. So then I'm going to increase, and then the base here is going to be under functions here. I can choose material only and hit OK. and I want to increase it by 15%.
Okay, so that's in the little calculator. The little calculator
Under functions.
under functions.
Yeah, you can
Okay,
choose
that's
labor
where
and
I got lost. Okay, that's where I had
so,
lost it.
but now be aware
Alright.
though. Be aware though. When I do that, up, I'm going to drop down to my sales tax here now, and I'm actually going to put in front of this here 1.15, so it accounts for that 15% markup on the tax side as well. Oh, and I also screwed up because I didn't apply this to OMP like
Okay,
that.
yep,
So
yep,
now
yep.
when I go and print this off at the end of the job, if it'll let me not beep out on me here, that'd be really great. There we go. Oh, by the way, if you're using desktop and this happens to you and you can't get to the print side,
Just close out and do it
close
from
out
the
and then
menu.
do it from
Yeah,
the desktop here. You get around it. So I'm
yep,
going to hit the print
yep.
here, and
Are you writing in
now
Carrier? What was that? Was Carrier?
I always write in Carrier.
Yeah. Yeah, I do too. Well, I always write in no, I don't. I always
I
write
always write
in
in Carrier.
actionable, and then I transfer it to Carrier to send to my clients.
I always write in Carrier, and then if I feel the need to have it scrubbed through, and I feel like I just want to make sure I might duplicate it into Carrier or actionable, but
Okay.
but yeah. So doing all that there, now you can see here that just doing that taxes there.
Material
Here's my
markup.
main
Look at that.
material markup of 15%, and it's pulling this 15% off
Yes.
of the component listing. So it's not me making the hand calculations. And because I did it on and through there, it's going to apply this material markup to my open items. It's going to apply it
So
to
I'm
my
gonna use
code
I'm gonna start
upgrades.
using that. So mitigation, I hear you on mitigation, the profitability of mitigation, Joe, but I'm still gonna put in a material markup on my mitigations.
And that's
That
fair.
way
That's
that way
fair.
my clients don't have to fight the fight, and I don't have to fight the fight of OMP and
Well,
get
what
the
I'm
OMP
saying,
up there, but I'm still gonna mark up the materials, and I'm gonna aim way higher
well,
than
well,
15%.
that's what I was saying though, is like this one here is in, let me make sure we're in the most current date here, just because so I can have a valid number when I argue with you on this. We're in March. Right now,
I'm not arguing, Joe. I'm just
right
we just
now,
don't we
WT
don't
labor.
share an opinion.
Well, right now, $33 for every hour one of your guys works out there, you make $33.67 on them.
Yeah, so it's 90% markup.
Multiply by 100, divide by the total price, which is 69.60. You're already got a 48.38% markup on your file on the labor. No material, just labor. Which, so my question is if you're trying to hit if you're trying to hit 60% profit margin on a job, if you're trying to be at 60% on this file, then you don't need to add 10 and 10 on the, you wouldn't add 10 and 10 on this here. You would add what? That's 10, 12, so 6 and 6 to hit your 60% to cover your overhead and cost. If you're running off of a 10
Mm,
and 10 overhead and profit, you don't need to be
mhm.
at 10 and 10. If you're aiming just to have a 55% profit, well,
Yeah.
you only need
Well,
to have 3 and 3.
move your calculator. What's the labor burden is 1082. 1082. So that's 3539.
What everybody
Uh,
needs to understand is this here.
so
This is how much
3367 divided by I'm gonna just do divided by 3367.
the labor wage is, how
And
much you pay
reverse
your
that.
guy. This is how much you have to pay for your guy. This overhead, strictly 100%, strictly speaking, if you are subbing out all the work, this entire number here of 69.60 is what you would pay per hour to your subcontractor for his rate, because this is his overhead number. And that's why you need overhead and profit when you sub work out. But if you're doing it in house, Xactimate says, well, this here would be your global overhead and profit number if your workers in house and you're not subbing it out, because your subcontractor is not going to do this work at cost. He's going to make some money. He wants to make money as well.
Of course he
So
does. Of course he
that's
does.
why this here's here. So like if you're doing, a better example probably would be like drywall. If I do drywall, you know, and I say it's, I don't know, let's just say it's 12,000 square feet of drywall. Strictly speaking, and you know, and we're just going to say replace only. If my subcontractor is going to buy the drywall and do all the work, and I don't have to do anything else, strictly speaking, he is owed this 3487.44, and then I would go into my global here and add my 10 and 10 or 20 and 20, whatever it is on there, and that's where that's what I make. What's happening right now is most people, you back off your overhead and profit, and they say, okay, well, Mr. Drywall dude, let me make sure I did that right. Let me make sure it felt like it didn't say. All right, Mr. Drywaller, well, you know, Exactly says it's 3,400. I'll do, you know, I need to make 35% profit on this here, maybe. So 3487.44 minus another 50 or minus 15%. Can you do it for 2,900 bucks? And you buy all the materials and you can do it for $2,900. Yep. Okay. And I made, and all. That's not how Xactimate's technically supposed to work, but that's how everyone has to use it, because the insurance companies won't let us have that overhead and profit increase in the global section.
Exactly.
You know?
All right. Thanks, Joe. You do need a class because this guy says so right here. Cool stuff, Joe. You need to do a class. That's what he said.
One day I will actually have a little license that says I'm allowed to teach you guys.
Dude, let's figure out how you can retire and do that. Like one class a month. We'll sell that shit out and we're making 7 figures. So, yeah, man. Once again,
the AI platform was what? You were using ChatGPT, and what was the other one?
I just put it in the chat. Okay. ChatGPT and perplexity.ai. So, Casey, once again, great to see you, brother.
Great, man. Soon. Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Casey, feel free to message me directly if you ever want, or man, I have no problem talking to you about 100%. Estimates all day long.
Yeah, that'd be great. 100%. Thank you.
All right. Be good, y'all.
All right. Take care.